Hello everyone, it's Frank here and welcome back to this channel once again. Please, if you are new here, kindly consider subscribing to this channel. But if you are old here, thanks so much for coming back. So today I'll be showing you how to design a church flyer in Photoshop, and this is coming up. So let's jump into Photoshop and then let's get something started. Alright, so here in Photoshop, to create a new document, as usual, you go to File, New to create your new document, and I'm actually going to leave this paper size in inches and then keep my weight to 10 and then my height also to 11 inches, and then over here I'm not going to do anything to my resolution, so I am keeping my resolution to 300 pixels per inches, and then I'll hit on create. Alright, so I'll quickly go to my color adjustment to add a solid color to this particular poster. So the color code for this particular document is 0122 01022F. Yes, so I am going to leave this color code in the description for you guys to follow suit, and then I'll hit on OK. Okay, so from here the next thing I will do is to add a couple of text to this particular document. So I'll quickly jump into my notepad and then I'll start to copy my text. Okay, so I'll start with the holy, so Ctrl C to copy it, and then I'll hit on T to activate my text tool, and then left click, Ctrl V to make a paste for what you have copied, and then Ctrl A, select everything and try to make some kind of adjustment to this. Alright, so I'll select only the first letter of the holy and then make the whole thing caps. Okay, so Ctrl A, select everything and then make sure the holy is centered, and then Ctrl D to deselect. Okay, so Ctrl T to make a little bit of transformation to this holy. Yes, so this is exactly what I want, and then I'll hit on enter. Okay, so Ctrl A again to center it as well, and then Ctrl D to deselect. All right, so let's set a guide to this. So I will select my first ruler here and then go for the second one here. All right, so we are coming to work, or we are going to work according to the edges of these rulers I have set. Okay, so the next thing to do is to add a couple of colors to this particular text. So I'll double click on this layer to select everything, and then I'll set the color to a yellowish color. So I have the color to be FFD F01. So FFD F01, and this is the color code that I have used, and I love working with yellow colors. Okay, so I'll make a duplicate of the holy by holding on Alt, left click, and then drag the whole thing down, and then I will select everything, Ctrl A, and then I will start with the ghost. So I'll quickly go to my notepad again and then start to copy the ghost. So Ctrl C, the whole thing has been copied, and then Ctrl V, and then the whole thing has been pasted already. Change the color from yellow to white, and then since I am working in respect to my rulers, I will have to set everything to that. So Ctrl T to make a transformation, and then go for this edge also, and then make another transformation here, and then I'll hit on enter. Okay, so what will happen here is that my ghost layer must be underneath of the holy. So I'll have this. I'll use my arrow keys to drag the whole thing underneath my holy. So I'll be having this. Okay, so from here I will jump to my holy layer, and then I'll right click on it to add a couple of shadows to it. So I'll hit on drop shadow, and then these are the settings I have used for the shadow. The distance is 41 pixels, the spread is also 13%, and then the size is 109 pixels, and then I'll hit on enter. Okay, so the next thing to do is to go for my rectangular tool to draw a very nice rectangle underneath of my ghost. Okay, so I'll have this, and then I'll change the color from stroke, and then I'll go for a red color like this. Okay, so I'll use my arrow keys, drag the whole thing underneath of my ghost, and then I'll quickly go for my notepad to add a couple of text again. So this time around I'm going for conference, so Ctrl C to copy the whole thing, and then hit on T to make a paste from what we have copied. So Ctrl V to copy the whole thing, change the color from yellow to white. Okay, so I'll hit on OK, and then also change the font size from this to bold. Okay, so and then I'll make a little bit of transformation to this. Okay, so Holy Ghost Conference 2022, and then drag the whole thing on top of the rectangle I have drawn. Okay, so Ctrl A to select the whole document, and then make sure the conference is centered, and then Ctrl D to deselect. Okay, so let's also go back to our notepad and then go for the theme of this program. So Ctrl C to copy the theme, and then hit on T again, and then Ctrl V to make a paste from what we have copied. Okay, so this time around I am not going to use Akim, so we are going to use Monsara. So and then change the size from regular to something bold. Okay, and then make sure there's much space between your text. Okay, so I'll have this, and then make sure the whole thing has been reduced to the desired size of this document. So I'll have to close it up a little bit like this. Yes, so I'll go for my move to. Okay, but yes, still I can still make a little bit of changes to this. So I'll hit on space bar just to get the whole thing aligned with my fire force. So I'll have this. Okay, so I'll now go for my move to, and then Ctrl T to make a transformation, and then I'll have this here, and then I'll go for the other side, and then yes, I will have this there like this. Okay, use my arrow keys to drag the whole thing underneath of my conference 2022. Yes sir, so this is what I want. Okay, so I'll still go for my notepad, and then go for the text or the Bible verse of this document. So Ctrl C and copy the whole thing, and then I'll also hit on my text tool, and then Ctrl V to paste what we have selected or copied from your text or your notepad. Okay, so I'll have this, and then I'll go for my move tool, and then drag the whole thing here. Yes, so I have this there. Ctrl T to make a little bit of transformation to this, and then I'll hit on enter. Yes, okay. Alright, so the next thing to do is to go for my notepad again, and then go for the date. So the date of this program is 0208 June 2022, and this is funny. Okay, so I'll hit on text tool, and then Ctrl V to make a paste. Ctrl A, select everything, and then make an adjustment to this. But this time around I'm not actually going to use Monstera, but now. All right, so let's go back to our holy and then add the stylish thing you guys see on the thumbnail. Okay, so I'll go for my rectangular tool again and then draw a very nice rectangle, something like this, and then change the color from stroke and then go for something like this. Yes, okay, so I will accept the whole thing in Photoshop, Ctrl T, and then make a rotation on that. Okay, then hit on enter, right click, and then create a clipping mask to this. Okay, so this is what I've shown you guys on the thumbnail. Okay, so I'll right click on my rectangular layer and then go for the blending option just to add a couple of shadows to this. Okay, so these are the settings for the shadow. So I have the distance to be 41, the spread to be 13, and then the size to be 109. Okay, so let's try to increase the opacity a little bit. Okay, so just be playing around with the whole thing just to get exactly what you want. Okay, so let's go for 60. Okay, so you hit an enter. Use your arrow keys to drag the whole thing to the desired size you want it, or the position you want the whole thing. All right, so the next thing I will do is to go for my notepad and then go for cam 1, cam all, Ctrl C, make a copy, and then all right, before this let's make a duplicate of this rectangle. So Ctrl J, and then I will make a duplicate, change the color from red to change the color from white to red. Okay, so I will right click on this and then I'll clip a mask to this. All right, so I'll drag the whole thing to the right side of my document. Okay, so I will have this here. All right, so I can now hit on T and then paste what I have copied from my notepad. Okay, so select all and then make sure the color is changed from yellow to the background color, and then change the font from Aquiom to Orula. Yes, and then now I can choose to decrease the size to the desired size I want the whole thing. I'll now go for my move tool and then drag the whole thing in the center of the first rectangle drawn. All right, so hold on Alt, left click, and make a duplicate or a copy. Hit on your text tool, select everything, and then go back to your notepad and then copy, share this. Ctrl C to copy the whole thing, and then Ctrl V, paste the whole thing here. Ctrl A, select everything, and then change the color from blue to white. All right, okay, so I'll be having this here as well. All right guys, so the next thing I'll do is to also go to my notepad again and then go for the name of the church. So it's actually the Church of Pentecost. So Ctrl C, copy the whole thing, and then hit on your text tool again, and then this time around the whole thing will be on top of the document. So Ctrl V and copy the whole thing. I'll change the font from Orula to a font called Acrobat. Yes, and then I will make sure to put the whole thing in extra bold. Yes, extra bold or bold, any of these ones should work perfectly for me. All right, so I'll have this. Ctrl T, and then I'll make a transformation to this. I'll hit on enter, and then I'll have this one there. All right, so I'll still go for my notepad and then copy this and Quanta area. So present, I have this there, and then I will make just hit at any part of the document and then Ctrl V, make a paste, select everything, and then change the color to white. Okay, so the whole thing is not visible and I know what is happening already. I'll right click and then I'll hit on release clipping mask, or better still, I can still drag the whole thing on top of my document. Okay, so I'll have this there, hit on my text tool again, select it, and then make sure there is much space between them. All right, so I'll copy only the present, and then I can make a delete out of that. Okay, and then I'll still go for my Acrobat font and then change the whole thing in caps. All right, so I'll hit on T to make a little bit of transformation to this. Okay, so I don't actually know what is happening, but I think this must work for me. All right, so Control Z, bring everything back like this. Okay, and then Control T, and then I'll make a transformation to this. I think the whole thing is now working now. All right, so I have this there. I will change the size from regular to bold, and then Control T, and still make a transformation to that. Hit on enter, drag the whole thing underneath of your first or the church of the name. The name of the church. What am I even talking about? The name of the church. So I'll make a transformation to this again, and then hit on enter. I have this there. All right. So what will happen here is that I'll still hit on my text tool, and then Control V, Control A, and then change the font from this to a font called Bernhard Function. All right, and then I'll make sure the whole thing is thick. Okay, let's try something of this kind. Drag the whole thing here. All right, so we have this, right? So I'll go for the first letter and then make it caps. Yes. Okay. So Control T and make a transformation to that. So the Church of Pentecost Nkwanta area presents this. All right. So I'll go for my rectangle, and then I'll have my okay. The name of the church will not be included here. So I'll start with a shear layer and then come for my ghost layer here. Hit on just hit on shift, okay, and then Control G to group the whole thing like this. Okay, so I can now drag the whole thing down just to get space for my present. So I can now select my present and then drag the whole thing here. All right. Okay, so the final thing to do is to set my background. So I'll go for my background or my resources and drag this nice church background in Photoshop. Okay, and then I'll hit on enter, drag the whole thing on top like this, and then make sure it is on top of my background color. Okay, so I'll hit on G to activate my gradient tool, and then add a layer mask to this, and then I'll wipe up all the places that are not needed. Okay, all these places are not actually needed. Also, I'll hit on B to add some brushes to this so that the name of the church can be visible. All right, the final thing to do is to go to my color adjustment area, and then I'll add a curve to this. Okay, so I'll drag it to something like this, and then yes, so I have added this already. Okay, so I'll quickly add a new layer to this particular document, and then I'll hit on B to activate my brush tool. Okay, and then I'll only left click something like this, right click on the layer, and then go to the blending options, change the color from white to something red like this. Okay, so you can now reduce the opacity to the design size you want to work with. All right, so this is what I want to work with. Okay, so my opacity here is 27. All right, so Control J to make a duplicate, drag the whole thing here, Control T, right click, and then flip horizontal. All right, so drag the whole thing here, and then make sure to increase the size. All right, so this is what I have shown you guys on the tab. No, I'll still go back to my resources and then add this light thing, which is called lens flare. So I'll drag and drop the whole thing in Photoshop, and then make sure the layer is at the top of all the layers. Alright, so I'll change the blending mode to screen and then drag the whole thing here, something like this. Okay, so Ctrl J, make a duplicate and then drag it here as well. Alright, so I want to thank all for having time with me for this particular tutorial, and may God richly bless you all.